Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy football content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today we're going to be looking at the worst fixtures that anyone has got in game weeks 1 through 6. So yesterday we looked at who has the best fixtures and today we're going to flip it on its head and this is going to be a real warning video. If you've got any of these players in your team, you might want to think about it a little bit. So we're going to be discussing from two angles. We're going to be going through who has the worst fixtures for their defenders and who has the worst fixtures for their attackers, because they are slightly different. As I've explained kind of before, a game against Sheffield United or Burnley is a great fixture for if you're using your defenders. So defenders are going to score well against these teams because these are not high scoring teams. On the other hand, your attackers are not going to score many goals against a Sheffield United or a Burnley, so it would be a bad fixture for them. So there is a big difference, and therefore the best and worst fixtures from your defence and for your attack are slightly different. So you've got to look at them in different ways. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Here is a beautiful table of difficulty. So this table is all the stats for the best and worst fixtures provided by Fantasy Football Hub, with their tool called the Ticker, which I'm using. Their best fixtures table, the data is based on spread betting and predictive modelling. So it's all actual proper data rather than me just predicting and saying, oh, I think it might, this is my opinion, this is my opinion. This is actual data, so that's why it's going to be a pretty unbiased video, to be honest. But then I will be expanding on the theories and giving you some further insights. So we're going to go 4 worst from each team, from each category. So 4 worst for defence, 4 worst from attack. So yeah, let's kick it off with attack. So the 4 worst fixtures for the attack. So your 4th worst fixtures for attack is Arsenal, and looking at these fixtures, you might not be too surprised by that, if I'm honest. So yeah, they do start off against Fulham and then West Ham, which are absolutely lovely fixtures. But then these fixtures seem to take an absolute nosedive. Liverpool away, Sheffield United, Man City away, and then Leicester. So in the space of 4 games, they play the 2 hardest games of their entire season. So the attack is really going to struggle against those teams, aren't they? It really is a tough little run after those first 2 games. So the only key player from the Arsenal's attack, I'd say, is Aubameyang at the moment. I can't see anyone going for many other players other than Aubameyang. If you are, then that's probably a bit of a risk. But if you have got Aubameyang, fine, bring him in for Fulham and West Ham. But after that, I really do think you need to be moving Aubameyang on. Unless he's scoring a hell of a lot of goals and you want to opt for his form over his fixtures. He's certainly not going to be a captain option against Liverpool, Sheffield United, Man City, or probably even Leicester either. So that is a really, really difficult run that you want to be wary of. Going into the 3rd worst fixtures for attack, and we've got Manchester City. Even considering blanks and stuff, I try to not consider blanks when choosing the teams with the worst fixtures because it does skew it. But even after you account for the blanks counting as nothing, Man City still have the 3rd worst fixtures for attack. So Wolves, Leicester, Leeds, Arsenal and West Ham United. So if you look in there, so Wolves away, Wolves are a very good defensive team. Leicester, another good defensive team last season. Leeds, I do think there could be a tripping stone there a little bit. They could be a banana skin because of the managerial nous of Marcelo Bielsa, who's the Leeds manager. He's just such a classy manager. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to go to Leeds and roll them over, especially away from home, which Man City are. Arsenal, they can be a bit of a mixed bag defensively. Obviously, last time Man City played Arsenal, Arsenal beat them in the FA Cup. The time before that, Manchester City absolutely steamrolled them. So you don't really know what you're going to get there. And then West Ham, that's probably the saving grace from this fixture list. The only real fixture you want to be looking at, really, especially if you're thinking about captaining a Man City player. You might want to do it against Leeds, maybe. I'd be cautious. But then West Ham, perhaps you could. And so the key players there are Aguero, KDB, Sterling, Foden. I don't think the other guys in attack have too high ownership, if I'm honest, from what I've seen so far. But certainly, with the first game being a blank, I just don't see why you would have Manchester City players in your game week 1 team, especially when after that they've got Wolves and then Leicester. So it's not really looking that good anyway, even after the blank. So maybe after Wolves, maybe after Leicester, when Man City play against Leeds, that could be a time where you might want to come in on Man City attackers. But before then, I don't see why you wouldn't. I don't see why you'd stick them in your game week 1 team because there's not really any real need where there's other good options there. So don't feel forced into putting Man City players in just because they're Man City players. If you want to, obviously you can, but yeah, don't feel too guilty if you're not doing it. Second worst fixtures for attack are Leeds United, Liverpool, Fulham, Sheffield United, Man City, Wolves and Aston Villa. Again, Liverpool and Man City in the first 4 games. So that's really not what you want to see when you're looking at your players. Unfortunately for us, in Leeds United, there's not really too many attacking players that people are looking at. I know some people are looking at Bamford at 5.5 million, but I mean, I'm not too interested in Bamford. I know I put him in my first draft, but I changed my mind a little bit on that, especially having seen the fixtures. So it's not just Liverpool and Manchester City, but Sheffield United, a horrible team to play against if you're an attacker. Wolves, another horrible team if you're playing against as an attacker. So yeah, and the only real saving graces there are, again, Fulham and Aston Villa there. You could get a few goals there, but, Aston Villa did improve defensively at the end of last season as well. So in terms of your attackers for Leeds United, even if you're going for someone a little bit different, if you're trying to go for a differential attacker at Leeds United, I just don't think it's worth it going into this first stretch of fixtures. Maybe you consider Leeds players a little bit further down the line, but in terms of your first game week 1 team, I don't really see why you'd go there looking at that line of fixtures. And then the worst fixtures for attack is West Ham, and now they start against Newcastle, which is actually a pretty good fixture, to be honest. And then after that, well, so to be honest, I say it's a good fixture. I mean, it would have looked like a good fixture at the back end of last season, but, for the most of last season, Newcastle were actually pretty tough to score goals against, but we'll leave that. After that, though, Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Tottenham, Man City. So 5 really, really difficult teams all in a row, which means players like Antonio, if you've gone for Antonio, or Soucek, if you're looking for some headed goals or some set-piece goals from Soucek at 5 million, you might struggle a little bit against this horrible run of 5 games. So I don't even know if it's worth wasting a transfer, bringing a West Ham player in for game week 1 and then switching him out. Maybe you want to have him against Arsenal as well if you don't trust the Arsenal defence and you want to capitalise on that. But yeah, it really doesn't look good if you're going for attackers there, because there's just so many good defensive teams there. Wolves, great defensive team. Leicester, great defensive team. Tottenham, massively improved defensively under the defensive manager Jose Mourinho. Manchester City, massively underperforming their defensive stats last season, so we're expecting a good defensive performance from Man City this season. So yeah, I think I'll leave it. I don't know about you guys. And then moving on to this beautiful defensive table, again, Fantasy Football Hub, their ticker feature, if you're interested at all in that. So this is what it looks like for the worst teams for defence as well. So we're going to analyse the top 4 of this table as well. So come on, let's have a look. So if you are looking for defenders, the 4th worst fixtures for defence is Leeds United. So we are going to have some repetition here. There is some slight crossover, but none of them are in the same order here. So 4th worst fixtures for defence is Leeds United, Liverpool away, Fulham, Sheffield United, Manchester City at home, Wolves and Aston Villa. I mean, I feel like just the combination of having Liverpool and Man City in your starting 6 fixtures is just an instant disadvantage, because you can expect to ship a fair few goals against each of those teams, maybe sort of 3 goals in one, 4 goals in another. That's going to be really, really tricky for Leeds United, even though I know I said Marcelo Bielsa is a quality manager. If anyone is going to undo his squad, and it might be a case of that his squad quality is just not good enough against these teams. Still, I would be cautious, because I don't really know how Leeds are going to fit into the Premier League. I'm not sure. It could go either way, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't expect Liverpool in the first game to beat Leeds by more than maybe 2 goals. But, just because of the determination of having that first game in the Premier League. But after that, I don't know. I certainly would never back a clean sheet for Leeds against Liverpool or Manchester City or like Wolves, to be honest. So yeah, it's not amazing. So if you are going for Dallas or Ayling, the good thing about Dallas and Ayling is because they're 4.5 million, you can just bench them and maybe put another player in on your first 11 in their place. So you just make sure you're benching them at the right moments, and maybe bring in the Dallas or Ayling in for games against Fulham, Sheffield United, Aston Villa, and those other 3, Liverpool, Manchester City and Wolves, you just sort of avoid them with your players. So I don't think there's anything wrong with these players just because they're so cheap, but just make sure you're taking them off and you have a player that's going to play instead of them at that given moment. So next up, 3rd worst fixtures for defence is Leicester. They start off with West Brom, which is quite a nice fixture. Burnley, Manchester City, West Ham United, Aston Villa and Arsenal. Now, interestingly, if you saw my video on the best fixtures, I actually put Leicester as the best fixtures for attack, I believe. So I think they've got the best fixtures for attack and the 3rd worst fixtures for defence statistically, and this is what I mean, that there can be such a big discrepancy there. So if you've got defenders for Leicester, they might concede a few goals, but they'll probably score a few goals at the other end. So Leicester attackers fine, Leicester defenders not so good maybe. So West Brom apparently are actually more likely to score than I perhaps first thought they were. West Ham are actually a little bit more dangerous than I thought they were, according to the statistics provided by Fantasy Football Scout. I am going to be a little bit cautious about the West Brom game. I don't know enough about West Brom to know how free scoring they are basically, and I'm not sure if they're Premier League quality yet. So we'll have to wait and see there. But yeah, apparently this is going to be a really difficult run for them. So Arsenal, I think, I can't understand why that'd be difficult with Aubameyang. Manchester City, obviously, I understand why that would be difficult for Leicester. West Ham are definitely capable of scoring a couple of goals. They certainly proved it at the end of last season with the likes of Antonio, although they've got the worst fixtures for attack, so you perhaps wouldn't want to go back them. So yeah, a few slight contradictions here. So I would sort of step back and maybe use Leicester players sparingly. Definitely use West Ham players sparingly. So yeah, if you're going for a Schmeichel at 5.5 million, I think that's a lot of money if you're spending that much money on your game week 1 goalkeeper to have this terrible, well, not terrible, but not great real run of fixtures at the start there. And if you're going for Soyuncu, again, 5.5 million, quite a lot of money to be spending on a defensive team that doesn't have the best defensive fixtures. Justin, again, is a case of, because he's so cheap and you can rotate him out with other players, maybe you can rotate Justin with Ferguson at Crystal Palace. I think they rotate quite well in terms of one has good fixture whilst the other has bad fixture kind of thing. So yeah, you could do something like that. That's I'm not completely averse to. So if you're going for anyone, maybe Justin, depending on whether Leicester sign a new left back to replace Chilwell, and depending on the situation with Pereira, because I do think he is coming back to fitness during October at some point. So he might not even get that far, Justin, in terms of being a viable option. Let's see though. And so second worst fixtures for defence is West Ham. There's no real surprise here. I mean, we've talked about how bad their fixtures are already. So Newcastle, Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Tottenham, Man City. Yeah, arguably Arsenal are more of an attacking threat than they are a defensive threat, so that's why that's being considered. Wolves, I guess, don't score as many goals as they concede. Does that make sense? No, so Wolves don't concede many goals, but they don't score that many goals either. Leicester, I don't know what Leicester's going to turn up this season. They had a very poor end to last season. Tottenham, a good defensive team, but they have been nicking a few goals as well. And then Manchester City are well known for their scoring loads of goals, so that's why West Ham have been nudged to second for the worst defence. So yeah, again, fortunately, there's not really many players we'd be looking at for West Ham's defence anyway. And West Ham's defence last season was so bad. It's just gone downhill, really, hasn't it? So we don't really want to look at West Ham defenders anyway. But I have been seeing people saying Diop and maybe Ben Johnson, but maybe having seen this run of fixtures, you might change your mind on Diop and Ben Johnson. Even though they are really cheap, there's not really any saving graces in this fixture run. There's not even there's a case of, actually, maybe I'd play him against Newcastle, yes, but after that, you wouldn't want to play a West Ham defender against any 5 of this team. So you've got a player that's sitting on the bench pretty much useless to you for 5 games in a row. So I don't think I would go anywhere near the West Ham defence either. So yeah, not great viewing there, but it's not ideal. So first for worst fixtures in defence is Arsenal. Fulham, West Ham, Liverpool, Sheffield United, Man City and Leicester. Liverpool and Man City away are the ones, really. They're the ones that are going to cause problems for anyone. If you've got those two teams in your first 6 fixtures, I think that's pretty bad luck, isn't it? Your 2 hardest games of the whole season in the first 6 games, in the first 5 games technically, isn't it? So yeah, there are a few people are looking for in the Arsenal defence, but I'm not. Is anyone ever fully convinced in the Arsenal defence? So you got Leno, he makes plenty of saves, so maybe even in the hard fixtures, because Leno makes so many saves in a hard fixture, he'll be making even more saves, potentially on for some bonus points if he gets enough saves. So yeah, potentially you look at him. But when you're talking about Tierney, Saliba, Bellerin, they're just going to lose their clean sheets instantly. Bellerin, how much is he actually going to pay? Tierney, I guess he's looking really good. He's pretty creative as well, but he's basically loses a clean sheet in most of these games, you would say, wouldn't you? And Saliba, is he going to start? Nobody really knows yet. So there's so much risk attached to these defenders that and with the fixtures as well, you kind of just want to avoid. You don't really want to have to play Tierney at 5.5 million against Liverpool, Man City, and Leicester. Probably, I don't even know if he'll get a clean sheet against West Ham either. Sheffield United, it could go either way. Fulham is probably the only game I'm confident of Arsenal keeping a clean sheet there. So there are so many teams that have got a good first fixture, and then it just goes tragic from there. Same with West Ham. So in terms of defence, those are sort of the teams you want to be avoiding: West Ham and Arsenal. So and then Leicester to a degree, and Leeds. I think you can just about do it if you rotate well. But yeah, there's definitely some warning signs there, and hopefully I've given you those warning signs today. So there you have it. If you are interested in this amazing fixture ticker tool that I've been using today, it's really, really useful in terms of lining up, sort of seeing what teams should I be looking at to get players in, who has the good upcoming fixtures. It's really useful throughout the season because you can sort of sit down and think, oh, I know I want to make a transfer. I know I want to get such and such out of my team now. Who has got good fixtures coming up who I can get in nice and early before we reach the fixtures and capitalise on great fixtures. And it uses statistics to tell you what is the most likely fixtures you can get something out of, which is particularly useful, I find, with defenders. So yeah, there's definitely something to look out for there. And if you want 25% off, there is a code in my description for 25% off your subscription to Fantasy Football Hub, and they've got loads of other tools on there as well. So do go check it out if you are interested at all, and yeah, see what it's all about, see if you fancy it. So there we have it. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing. Loads and loads of FPL videos on this channel. I'm pretty much making a video every day. If you want FPL content, I will have it for you. If you don't want it, then well, I've got it for you anyway, so you can take it or leave it. Like this video if you found it helpful in any way, and yeah, mini league code in the description, Twitter, Instagram codes in links in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you guys on the next one. See you later, mates. Bye bye.